Good morning, friends. Welcome to today's video post, our daily Dharma. The other day I was driving down the road and I went by one of those houses with like lights everywhere, like way over the top. I love those houses. I can appreciate it. And one of the things that really stood out in the yard was this giant sign, or it was lit up joy, maybe like 8, 10 feet high letters, joy. And I was just reflecting on certainly, that's um, a name or a feeling that gets associated with this time of year for some traditions. Then I was also associating or just reflecting in terms of the Buddhist tradition and our Dharma practice. And the Buddha had something interesting to say about joy. He said there are two types of joy. One is worldly joy. Um, it's the joy that's associated with particular things, right? Worldly, of the world. Particular, you could say sankharas, things that arise. So, for instance, um, seeing a friend that you haven't seen in a long time, right? So, the joy that comes with that, yeah. So, and it's dependent on seeing that friend, right? If you were still apart and you still weren't seeing one another, then the joy wouldn't be there, right? Or the joy of what? Of your your favorite sports team winning a game or winning the championship, right? Oh, that's joyful. So again, dependent on the team winning. If they lost, then there's no joy there. So, etc. Right? The joy of a good meal, whatever. And then he said, and then there is unworldly joy. So that's the joy that's not dependent on anything externally in the world. Like nothing has to be a certain way outwardly in order for the joy to arise in one's heart and mind. And so things in that category are like metta, yeah, the loving kindness, or any of the Brahma Viharas, right? Compassion, appreciative joy, equanimity, right? It's it arises internally. It's not dependent on things being a certain way. So, when loving kindness, say, is really developed quite strongly, um, loving kindness for anyone, regardless of, say, how they're acting, or regardless of our relationship with them, there can just be that loving kindness. It's not dependent on something outwardly. So, that's an example of unworldly joy. Um, Generosity in the heart and the mind. Again, not dependent on anything outward being a certain way. It arises internally. So that generosity is an example of unworldly joy. Um, the joy that we get from our ethical conduct and connecting with the sila aspect of the practice. Um, That's unworldly joy. Again, it's not dependent on outward things. This sense of caring and non-harming doesn't matter what's happening out in the world or with other people. It arises internally. Samadhi, the brightness and the joy, the pleasantness of a mind that is freed, or at least temporarily, from the hindrances, the defilements. They're not present. They're temporarily at bay, and that's an example of unworldly joy. Because again, it doesn't matter what's happening outwardly. The ability to calm and steady the mind comes internally, and we can experience the joy that comes with samadhi. And then the last example of unworldly joy is the joy that can arise in the heart and the mind simply from being present with something. Just the ability to be present. And it actually doesn't matter what we're present with, it's just that we're present. And there can be a subtle joy that arises with that, even with unpleasant things. Um, could be pain in the body or difficult mind states, um, maybe a difficult interpersonal situation or difficult situation that one's part of. Um, the ability to be with that, to be aware of it and to be with it in a non-reactive way, and the knowing of that, it's like the experience of, and I know you've had this experience, it's like we're watching ourselves be with that situation. um, and there can be a joy that arises from the ability to be with that, to be, say, non-reactive. Joy in the heart and mind that's been cultivated enough to be able to do that. So that's an example of unworldly joy. And, worldly joys are fine. Uh, in fact, the Buddha said sense pleasures, the pleasantness that arises from contact at the sense doors, he said sense pleasures are to be enjoyed. That's that's what you do with them. You don't, you know, if something, warm sun on your face, oh, that feels good. And there's a cold day out and you feel some warm sun. You don't go, oh, I'm a Buddhist, I don't want to feel that. It's like, no, you actually enjoy that sense pleasure while it lasts, because worldly joy can't be depended on, right? Because of changing conditions. Of course, they're going to change. And the joy that's based on changing conditions is inevitably and lawfully going to go. So, no, nothing wrong with worldly joy at all. It's just that it's not dependable. If we want something we can depend on to lift the heart and mind, to be bright and joyful, then we have to look to the unworldly joy and the cultivation of these different aspects of the heart and the mind, the ethical conduct, right? The generosity, the samadhi, the the strong mindfulness, the ability to be with all these things. These we can actually depend on. They're not going to be taken away. And so let's go ahead and do some practice, right? How do we, how do we get these things? Well, we cultivate them. We spend time. We practice patience and perseverance, and we keep going slowly. We slowly cultivate these um, patterns of heart and mind that are wholesome, that bring about unworldly joy that we can depend upon. So let's go ahead and get into whatever position you're going to do the formal practice in. Consciously drop into your body, start inhabiting the body with the attention. I get a feeling of a sinking down into the body at this point in the meditation. Just this initial connection with the body. And as soon as we connect with the body in this way, meaning we start to feel it, then we can invite the body to soften and relax and become still. The stillness of the body is born from softening and relaxation, not through effort. This sense of things dropping as the body softens and relaxes, shoulders drop, belly drops. This energy kind of draining downwards. And if we follow that down, we naturally come to the place where the body is touching what's below it, and we can feel those contact points and notice what sensations are present. And maybe even right now, you might just notice, not, trying to make anything happen, but just sitting here quietly, feeling the body. There can be a subtle joy in that, just this being with. So feeling the body where it's connected to what's below it, feeling those sensations. You can feel sensations in the body where different parts of the body might be touching another part of the body, hands touching perhaps. And you can also see if you can feel the body where it's not touching anything. And any sensations in the face or the torso or the limbs. As we stay connected to the body with our attention, the initial sensations of, say, contact or pressure, hardness and softness, they can give rise to more subtler sensations. As we stay with the body, we start to feel the body in a more fine-grained way. Sensations such as tingling, vibrating, buzzing. We might feel these at the touch points. We also can feel these sensations in the body at other places, even where it's not touching something. And we can start to experience the body just as this field of tiny sensations, sparkling in and out of existence very quickly. Like light sparkling on the surface of a body of water. Letting the attention be open, soft, not bearing down on the sensations, more like receiving them. And we might also start to notice a rhythmic pattern of sensations within this larger field, part of this larger field. This rhythmic pattern of sensations associated with the body breathing in and out. It can be helpful to notice, though, that you're not feeling breath. Breath is just a word. We could call it a car or a tree. Doesn't really matter. You're feeling what you're feeling. Sensations. These sensations associated with what we call breath are part of the larger field of sensations that we call body, because that could be called anything as well. So we can tune into this experience as just one thing, the breath body. And to the degree that the attention can rest with this experience of the breath body, feeling it change, feeling the rhythms of the breath washing through it. And then the heart and mind can begin to settle, calm, be a little more stable. And if and when that occurs, or to the degree it occurs, we can experience this example of unworldly joy. This kind of sense of seclusion, of calm. It's very helpful to enjoy the formal practice when it's enjoyable. And turning our attention to other beings, cultivating a little bit of loving kindness, wishing that all beings, wherever they are, who or whatever they are, whatever conditions they find themselves in, wishing that they be well, that they have an internal feeling of wellness, a sense of peace and calm and ease in their hearts and minds, that they feel safe and protected. Is cultivating that wish. May all beings be at ease. And so we can watch for these subtle forms of unworldly joy in our life. Specifically, I wanted to point at the unworldly joy that can come just from being present, just from attending to what is, whether it's stirring a cup of tea, doing the dishes, right? It's not dependent on what it is that we're connected to. It's the connection. It's the being mindful of. And I think that probably happens more than lots of people know. And so just bring us a little bit of attention to that. Because it really is enjoyable, and it's also very supportive of the mindfulness practice in general. Makes us want to do it more, and that's a good thing. Okay, friends, that's it for today. Caroline will be with you tomorrow. I will see you next Tuesday. Until then, I wish you well in all ways. Bye-bye.